Hey, what's up guys? If you have not checked out What If Naruto was banished from heaven, I have already talked about what I'm doing. I have been working a lot on my own what ifs, so yeah, I'm gonna be start posting my own what ifs on these channels as well. This is 100% done by me. So yeah, 100% me guys. So today I'm gonna be giving you something new. What if Naruto was a 10,000-year-old vampire god? Yes, guys, a 10,000-year-old vampire. It's gonna be amazing. So, like usual, sit back, relax, and I hope you guys enjoy. And don't forget to go ahead and check out the other what ifs over in the other channels. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. So, without further ado or wasting more time, what do you say we jump right into this? Begin now, guys. We begin this new series within Konoha, the strongest nation within the Fire Country. The current leader of the village was Hiruzen Sarutobi, who had retaken the title after his chosen successor risked his life to put an end to the Nine Tails attack. However, at the moment, Hiruzen felt awful. He felt terrible. The reason? She was gone. Her name was Mito Uzumaki, a young, fiery redhead that always think on her emotions. She had left the village. Hiruzen had no idea when she left. It was just recently that Aruka Mino had brought this to his attention when she missed school for the third day. It wasn't uncommon for her to not attend school for a day or two. It has been usual in the past, so Aruka did not put much to it. In the first year of the academy, he was not the only teacher because there was many other classes and he had to fill in. The number of students that wished to become ninjas this semester was far larger than any other, and Aruka was forced to extend this time to the other classes, so there was other teachers. However, Aruka was the only one that noticed that she did not attend class for 3 days. Usually, she would miss a day or two, but this was strange. So he reported this to Hokage. When they got to her apartment, they saw that many things were missing. The only things that were not missing were the things that were too heavy to carry. And a note was on the kitchen table. It was addressed to him, the Hokage, and also the ramen family. Tuki and Ayam. They were the only people within the village that treated her with at least respect. Aruka didn't have much time to get to know her. However, he was always looking out because he knew what she held and he knew the burden that was on her shoulder. It was the same beast that had taken his family away from him, but he knew that the child was not the beast. So he always kept an eye out for her, as she was always getting into fights. At the moment though, Hiruzen lowered his head as he felt disappointed in himself. Mito was a dead ringer for Kushina. She looked like a duplicate of her when she was younger. The last dying wish that Kushina had pleaded with him was to look over her daughter. She begged him to do so, and Hiruzen failed, although, despite the Nine Tails killing many people and the beasts being sealed inside of her and people seeing her as such, her life was not that bad. To this day, Hiruzen had no idea who was watching over her, but it seems like she had a guardian angel. He had noticed signs at first. It started with her clothing. The material of the fabric, it looked rather expensive. He doubted that she would have used all of her money to buy clothing. And the fact was, that kind of material did not sell within the village. So he asked her about it and she told him that she found a box right on her bed when she woke up with the clothing inside. At first, Harrison was freaked out. She did not seem to understand the seriousness of that. Someone was able to sneak in and be in her house while she was asleep. He put his guards on watch, but still, someone was able to bypass them every single time and bring her clothing, money, food that was not even within Konoha. It was truly expensive. She herself was shocked when she found out that not even the Hokage knew who it was. So she tried to find out who it was, but she failed. Hiruzen failed as well to find this individual. However, even with all of that, the villagers, the hate, it was too much. She was just like her mother. She wore her heart on her sleeve. Her emotions always flared up, and she tended to do something rash without thinking first. And now she's run away from the village. Hiruzen did not even know if she ran away on the first day. That meant she could already be far away. He had his envoys scouring, quietly of course. He couldn't afford anyone to find out that Konoha lost their Jinchuriki. Countless people would be after her to gain control of the Nine Tails. Hiruzen was afraid of the challenges that she was facing out there by herself, and there was nothing that he could do about it. But that wasn't even the biggest problem. The greatest problem that plagued the elemental nation was those blood-sucking monsters. Yes, vampires. They were beasts of the night. Humans. They resemble humans. However, they feed on living blood. It was a terrifying thought, but it dates back to the beginning of the elemental nation. No one can recall a time when those beasts never roamed the earth. No one knew the true origin or who started the line. However, there has been rumors that there was one man out there. It was strange though. No one could recall how he looked. All they say is, when you see him you would know. It is said that he was a leader, the ruler, the god of the vampires. He led them with an iron fist. However, that did not seem to be the case. These monsters has been slayed by ninjas from all over. So whoever this leader was, he wasn't in control of all of them. Or perhaps, he enjoyed the chaos. He enjoyed when they sucked the life out of people. Hiruzen didn't have the fondest clue. All he was worried about right now was Mito. Hoping that she was safe, hoping that one of his envoys would return and tell him that they found her. That was all that he could pray for at the moment. Meanwhile, that was going on. In an unknown area, the young, 7-year-old Mito Uzumaki was making her way. She had a backpack strapped to her back that was pretty large. As she was moving, she had already left the Fire Nation. It was not hard. It was pretty easy. Not to mention she had ridiculous stamina, so she could run for a very long while, despite her young age. However, she realized that she might have made a mistake as she was holding the map in her hand. She was lost. Damn it, she thought to herself. She did not plan for every scenario. She had made up her mind at least 2 months ago that she would flee Konoha. She couldn't take it anymore. The only people that actually cared about her was the old man and the ramen family. Even in the academy, the teachers were trying to sabotage her learning. Whenever she tried to ask a question, whenever she tried to understand something, they ignored her. They always told her things that did not seem right. And her paper, she had glanced over towards one of her classmates' paper and realized that they were different. Her questions seemed a lot harder. And that was mainly the reason why she failed so much. She had tried to show the old man this, but when she got there, the paper had somehow returned back to normal. And she was confused. Hiruzen did not believe her because the paper was perfectly correct. Her answers were just wrong. But she could swear on her life that those were not the questions that she saw earlier. She had enough of it. From an early age, she realized that she was different. She did not know why. She liked to read. As much as she did not show it, she loved to read. Because she wanted to understand. A reason why her vocabulary was not that bad. After all, the teachers went out of their way to make sure that she did not learn, but still, she was still keeping up. She wanted to become something great. She knew that she had the potential for it, but she was being constantly held back. They were always whispering, they were always glaring. They were always finding a reason to make her seem like the enemy. To make it seem like she was a bad person. So she figured, why should she stick around if everyone there hated her? She had no friends. The mothers refused to let their kids play with her, and a lot of the other girls bullied her. She was angry, upset. So she decided to leave and find something better. She read in a book once that there were communities, villages out there that accepted everyone. It must be because of her red hair. She had not seen anyone else with a bright red hair like hers. That must be the reason why they hated her. The old man could never answer why they hated her. Perhaps he knew that it was her hair, but he just didn't want to hurt her feelings. From what she read, the location of these villages were in the west, so she was heading there. However, she had to be careful. Like many others, she knew there were creatures and monsters lurking out here. Such things as vampires. They feast on people's blood, and they were pretty scary and dangerous. However, she was a big girl. She had practiced with the kunai that she had found after the older ninjas had practiced, and she currently had her trusty kunai within her pants pocket, ready to defend herself when it comes to it. As she made her way leaping over branches that broke in from their large trees, she was in a massive canopy. Some of the vines came up to her face. That was how tall they were. However, she was determined to find somewhere where people would treat her like she was a human being, not just 3 people but all people around her. Maybe someone could even adopt her, and she could have a family, something that she prayed for on several occasions, but she never had it. A mother to greet her, a father to hug her and tell her that it's alright, a older sister, a older brother, maybe a younger brother or a younger sister. That is what she craved the most. A family. Suddenly she saw something up ahead. It was smoke. She squinted her eyes in the darkness. As she went to go and investigate, she pulled out her trusty kunai, ready to defend herself just in case. As she hid behind a tree, she noticed that there were tents under the grove, so she had to get closer, which she did. That is when she saw several men. They were around a large campfire. There was a lot of meat and a large pig that was being roasted on the fire. They had what seemed to be alcohol. They were laughing and grinning. She heard something as she squinted even closer to see. Was that a cage? Yes, it was a cage. She covered her mouth in shock when she saw what was inside. There were several ladies, age ranging from 9 going up. Mito was frightened. What the hell was going on, she thought to herself. Why were they putting humans in cages? One of the men went up to the bar, screaming at the ladies inside. As they screamed back in fear, he started to laugh. The other one punched him on the shoulder. Cut it out already, he said. They're already noisy. As the other man seemed to just laugh it off. Mito was trembling in fear. These were not good people. Not at all. They were terrible individuals. She had to do something. She couldn't just leave those ladies behind. They did not deserve this. So she waited, observing the area. As she realized that she could go around, so she did, as quietly as she could. As she made her way, she proceeded to climb down. One of the younger girls saw her. She placed a hand to her lips, telling her to be as quiet as possible. The girl nodded as Mito held up the kunai. She gazed up at the lock. As she looked around, she needed to break it. However, just stabbing it with a kunai would not work. She saw a stone over at the side as she picked it up. More and more of the women saw her as they used their bodies to block her. She placed the kunai inside of the hole of the lock. She waited and waited until two of the men started to argue and they started to fight. She then banged the rock 3 times. It was enough to break the old lock. She quickly caught it before it could fall and slowly undo it. She threw herself to the side and hid as one of the men walked by. Almost she thought to herself. That is when their eyes went wide. Suddenly she was picked off her feet and thrown. Mito winced in pain as she hit the ground hard. When she glanced up, everyone was looking at her. A man had snuck up behind her without the other girls even seeing. Well, well, well. What do we have here? He said with a smile on his face. Hey, which one of you let this one escape? As they all start to surround her. I thought that we got all of them. Well, it didn't seem that way, the man that threw her said. He looked at her. Seems like she was trying to be a hero, to save her fellow friends in need, he said with a chuckle. That caused the others to laugh as well. Well, in the cell you go. He reached down. However, she slipped and ran right through his legs. She held the kunai out as she ran. It ended up tearing right into his calf. He cried out in pain and collapsed down to the ground. You bitch, he yelled. Before Mito could run away, one of them grabbed her bag and tore it. All the contents inside spilled. She tried to climb up, however, her leg was grabbed as he pulled her down. She cried in pain as he threw her, only for the other one that she stabbed to grab her and slam her into the ground. Mito screamed out on the top of her lungs. He placed a hand over her mouth. Oh, now you want to scream. After what you just did to my damn leg. She tried to punch and kick, but he was stronger than her. Tears in her eyes as he held her down to the ground. He grabbed the both of her hands, his leg still bleeding as he grabbed her, securely so that she could not move. You're gonna pay for what you just did, he said, dragging her away. The other girls started to scream, creating a lot of ruckus. One of the other men stepped forward. Quiet down, he said, raising his hand, or else. That is when he heard the boss stop talking. As the other men turned their gaze, those that were looking at the boss were shocked. The boss was a former ninja. Yes, not a powerful one, just a run-of-the-mill ninja who retired from that life and took on a life of robbery and thieving. However, he was stronger than all of them. But never had they saw him move so fast. The boss disappeared. He simply vanished like he was never there to begin with. They were all frozen in shock and confusion as well as they looked around. As for Mito, she found herself sitting on some soft grass. Mito was confused. One moment, she realized that she made a mistake by leaving the village. As horrible as it was, she's never been put through such treatment. And she was scared, terrified. And the next moment, she found herself on the grass. She felt something in her palm. It was a small note. Stay right here, it said. Mito got up confused as she realized that she was a distance away from where the bad guys were. But how did she... What was going on? Meanwhile, back in the bandit camp, the girls inside the cell, they were starting to get afraid. A dark, ominous aura started to spread. Boss? Boss! All the men started to call out looking for their boss, who had seemingly just teleported. Where did he go? Suddenly, another one of them vanished. They spun around, drawing all sorts of weapons. They start to freak the hell out. What's going on? Darkness. Darkness started to creep up all around them. The small light went out. Screaming could be heard as the girls screamed, believing that they were going to die. However, the next moment it came back on. The fire seemed to ignite itself once again, and not a single person was around. They were all gone. Mito did not listen to the note. She heard the screaming of the girls as she rushed back to the area. She quickly climbed down. She looked around confused. She saw her trusty kunai as she rushed towards it and grabbed the handle. She raised it, looking around. "What's going on? Where are they?" she asked. They vanished. One of the older women was able to speak. Something took them. The girls had been so petrified they did not even realize that their cell was no longer locked. Mito rushed towards it as she opened it up. "Come on, I'm getting you guys out of here. We have to go, now." That is when all the girls suddenly stopped in their tracks. Mito stood there. As she saw the look on their faces, she swallowed thickly. She gripped her kunai tightly. The woman that stood in front of her behind the bars was giving her a look. She knew that something was behind her. Mito spun as she swung wildly, lashing out her kunai to hit whatever it was. However, the person that was much taller than her grabbed her hand. She kicked. However, he grabbed her feet. She kicked with her other. However, he lifted her up upside down and held her by her single feet in the air, giving her time to slash at his face with her kunai. However, he pulled his face back. That is when she realized and saw who it was. And he was laughing. He seemed rather amused. His laughter, it started to calm the girls down. It wasn't an evil laughter, but a calm, genuine laughter. "You're quite the fiery one, aren't you?" he said to her. Mito blinked at his tone. That was so kind. She raised an eyebrow while she was suspended in mid-air. "Look at you. You look like a little tomato." Her face turned red with anger. "What'd you just call me?" "A little tomato," he said. She started to punch once again, but her punches could not reach. "Wait until I get down and I get my hands on you. How dare you call me a tomato?" she said. She seemed to hate that word. Maybe because it was a representation of her hair, and she hated when people use that word, and it was not the first time. However, the more she fought, the more amused he seemed to get. She ended up tiring herself out as he let her down. She huffed and puffed. "Who are you anyway?" "Well, I'm the one that just saved you," he said to her. She was able to get a fully good look at him, and she had to say, he was the most handsomest adult that she's ever seen in her life. He had blonde hair that was combed back, a little twirl coming down in his forehead. He had brilliant blue eyes. Her and his eyes were so similar to us, scary. A gentle smile on his face. She could not tell what he was wearing. He was wearing a black cloak over whatever he had on. You saved us," she said to him. "Yep," he said, with a smile. "Thank you would be enough." "You call me a tomato," she said. "I don't feel like thanking you." He simply chuckled once again. "Are you upset that I stated the obvious?" She growled at him before she turned her gaze. "Enough of this," she said. "We have to get them out of here. These bad people. Wait, where are they?" "Oh, don't worry about that. They're somewhere where they can't hurt anyone ever again," he said to her with a smile. "So how about we help out these ladies, shall we?" She nodded her head. This adult was really kind. As he opened the cell door, helping the ladies out, they were not trusting of him despite him just saving them. After all, a group of men had took them out of their homes. However, he led the way. All of them were from a close by village. Yes, a village that were currently looking for them. They were mothers, they were children. They got back towards the perimeter of the village. Mito watched as the man came to a stop. Aren't you coming? I'll be right here waiting for you. When you're finished, just come out and meet me, he said to her. Mito was confused, but she nodded okay. Mito went inside. The people wanted her to stay. Yes, the mayor of the village wanted her to stay. He would give her a proper home. It was thanks for what she did, because his own wife had been taken. It was the same woman that Mito had talked to earlier. However, she told him that she could not. She had somewhere that she had to go. Granted, she was looking for a place where people treat everyone equal, and this might be it. But there was something about that man that saved them all. And she would like to know who he is. And besides, this was not a ninja village. And she wanted to be the best that she could. And she would need ninjas in order to learn ninja traits. She arrived, but she did not see him anywhere. She realized that he might have left. She lowered her head in sadness. She did take a while. She had a new backpack with a few supplies that the mayor had given to her, given the fact that hers had spilled and she had lost most of it. But she was able to recover the things that she kept with her closely in her pockets, like the money that she has been saving. She started to walk. As she had her map in her hand, she wondered if she would see him again. Boo! Mito jumped and screamed as she fell on her butt. She looked up as she saw him standing there, looking rather amused. She glared up at him. That's not funny, she said, anger in her eyes. You scared me. Well, it might not be funny to you, but it was really funny to me. He held his hand out. She begrudgingly took it, squeezing it to make sure that he understood her rage. As he helped her back to her feet, she brushed herself off. Sorry, he said. Just thought I might lighten the mood, given what happened earlier. He knelt down. He looked right into her eyes. Are you okay? He asked. Mito didn't know why, but she felt this warmth, this connection. She was terrified earlier, even now. As brave as she might act like she was terrified. The only reason why she came back out here to meet him was because there was just something that she could not get past. And now she was certain. Yeah, she said. I wasn't hurt, she said, but it was pretty scary. Don't worry, he said. It's alright now. Yeah, because of you. You might have some horrible jokes, but you saved me. Do I know you? She asks. Why do you ask? Well, it's just a look in your eyes. It's like we've met before. Have we? No, we haven't, Mito, he said. Oh, she said. Wait. How do you know my name? I did not tell you my name, she said. How do you know it? He smiled. Well, I wasn't finished. We haven't met face to face, but I do know who you are. Mito Uzumaki, former citizen of Konoha. She looked at him with surprise. Have you been watching me? She said, stepping back. Who are you? She asked. I see. The clothing I left for you has been put to good use. Mito blinked in shock. How would he? She looked up, tears in her eyes. It was you. You were the one that left those things for me. The food, the money, the clothing. And she reached into her current backpack. She had picked up a few of her stuffs. She pulled out a teddy bear. A brown teddy bear with blue eyes. You left this for me. She got it when she was a little girl on her birthday. He smiled. Yeah, I did, he said. Mito did not even know if she could fully trust this guy, but yet she felt this strange connection as she rushed and hugged him. For her entire life, which wasn't that long, she was trying to find out who was a good Samaritan that was leaving these things for her. Who was watching over her, making sure that she was safe. There has been several occasions at night where the villagers, some drunken man or woman, would try to throw things at her, but whenever she looked around, they were always gone. Just like what happened earlier, she pulled away. Who are you? She said. I was a friend of your mother's. My mother? You knew my mother? Is she? I'm afraid she passed, he said to her. So he was telling the truth on that one, huh? I always ask the Hokage about my parents, but he said that they passed, fighting the Nine Tails, a great powerful beast that the fourth Hokage sacrificed his life for. Yes, your mother passed on that night. I knew her from some time ago. We were close friends. That is why I've been watching over you. So why is this the first time I'm meeting you? Why haven't you ever come and meet me face to face? He glanced up towards the heavens. A lot of people are after me, he said to her. My life is not a kind or easy one. If I had introduced myself to you earlier, and people found out, they would have used you to get to me. Really? She said. But why are they after you? Well, maybe it's because I'm just too awesome, he said with a chuckle. She rolled her eyes. Come on, really now, she said. What is it? They want me for my power, he said to her. Your power? Why? I am pretty strong, he said, and my power is unique. That's all I can say for now, he said to her. And they want me because of that. Oh, she said to him. Can I ask you something, she said. Of course. Do you know why my own village hated me? If you've been watching over me the entire time, you must know, right? You must know why they treat me this way. Why they look at me this way. Why they act this way when I'm around. He was quiet for a long while as she just looked at him. What do you know about the Kyuubi attack on Konoha? He asked. The Kyuubi attack? Well, it's... Mito paused. Her eyes were becoming fearful as she looked at him. Why did you ask me that? Am I somehow connected to the Kyuubi? That is why, isn't it? They've always whispered monster, creature. Am I? He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and once again she felt that warm sensation that she just couldn't understand. It felt like when Gigi gave her presents or when he was there for her, when no one else was. But it was more better, more closer. She just couldn't explain it. You are not the fox. However, the both of you are connected. How? She said. The nine-tailed fox, a beast of that magnitude, cannot be killed. However, it can be sealed away. The fourth Hokage had no other choice but to seal it inside of you. Inside of me? But how does Fuinjutsu? It is a sealing art, it can do a lot, he said. Have you been taught how to channel your chakra? He said to her. Yeah, that was like day one. Would you mind lifting up your shirt? What? She said, stepping back a bit. Just right above your stomach, he said. That is where the seal resides. My stomach? She looked down. She then looked back up at him. Would you mind turning around? She said. Of course. As he spun around, she lifted her shirt up. She channeled her chakra down towards her stomach. She had been taught how to channel it, but she wasn't an expert. It was almost instantaneously, as she saw something on her stomach. Her eyes widened. "You can turn back around now," she said, her shirt already down. She looked down. "So we are connected after all." "But that doesn't mean anything," he said to her. "You are two different entities. All the fox is just sealed inside of you." "Oh," she said. "Wait, if you knew my mother, did you know my dad?" "Sorry, I was away for a long time. I never knew your father. When I came back and I saw you, I knew that you were Kushina's daughter. You look just like her." "I do?" "Yeah, red fiery hair. And your face is so similar." "So her name is Kushina, huh?" "Kushina Uzumaki." "Yeah, she's from the Uzumaki clan." "Wait, clan?" "I'll tell you about that later," he said to her. "For now you have a decision to make." "What decision?" "Either I take you back to the village, or you come with me." "Why would you bring me back there?" She said to him. "To keep you safe." "But they don't like me. And despite knowing this, that means they knew all along. They're not gonna change their mind." "Wait. What do you mean take me with you?" "It's as it sounds. I can help you, even train you. You want to become a ninja, don't you?" "Yeah," she said. "The best there ever is. I know that I have a lot of potential." "And how would you know something like that?" "I don't know, but I just know it," she said. "And I'm going to prove it to you. If you're willing to train me, of course." "Well, that is part of the deal." "Wait, what about the people that are after you? Aren't they gonna come after you again? Isn't that the whole reason why you stayed away in the first place?" "Yeah, but I'm gonna risk it this time," he said. "Your mother was a really dear friend of mine, and the best I can do for her now is to take care of you." Mito smiled here and that. "Can you tell me some more about my mom?" "Sure thing," he said. "Come on." As they started to walk, she didn't know how she was able to meet someone like this. Someone that she can trust so much. She didn't even know him for more than an hour, and yet he was able to make her feel happy. Happier than she's ever been in the Hidden Leaf. Yes. So with that, they made their way off. A distance behind them, all the bodies off. The thugs were pinned against the wall. Yes, their bodies had seemed to hit the wall with an incredible force. The strange thing was, their heads were not there. Their heads were on the ground in front of them, as the animals of the forest started to get onto it. But that was not all. The tents that were at the back, all of them were filled with thugs inside sleeping, and some were guarding the perimeter. But they were not good, seeing the fact that Mito had gotten by them. There was over 50 plus. And deep within the forest, all of those bodies, mutilated and ripped apart, were there, in pieces. The animals, the wild animals of the forest, were extremely happy as they had an enormous feast. Mito was currently on a journey with what seemed to be a complete psychopath. Yes, he killed them to protect the women and the girls. However, their bodies were ripped apart with such force. It wasn't normal in the slightest. Time skip. As Mito traveled, she realized that she never asked his name. As she laughed about it, so did he. He told her that his name was Naruto. as she shook his hand and properly introduced herself as Mito Uzumaki. He told her that he didn't have a last name. She asked if it was alright for her to call him Naruto Uzumaki. He seemed rather happy to hear that. As Mito smiled, she asked him how old he was. He said that he was eternally youthful, with a chuckle. And he would not answer her question, but from what she could see, he was in his early 20s, perhaps 22 or 23. Meanwhile that was going on, Orochimaru of the Sannin was currently waiting. A gigantic door was cutting him off from what he desired inside. Suddenly, two men opened the door. "She will see you now," they told the Sannin. Orochimaru marched inside, rather pissed off that every time he come here he had to wait. She was doing this to show that she was larger than him, showing that she was more important, showing that he was the one that had to wait on her. As much as powerful as he was, Orochimaru would not dare to fight this woman that he had become partners with, per se. Partners in finding what they both wanted. He wanted eternal life. Becoming a vampire could give him that. However, there were certain drawbacks. The biggest one was the sun. And the other one was he wouldn't have access to chakra. Yes, once he died, no chakra, it will be gone. So Orochimaru did not desire that in the slightest. However, he believed with the blood of a powerful vampire that he could use it to create something that would grant him what he desired. She, on the other hand, she wanted him to become as strong as possible because she wanted him to kill someone. It turns out that she knew the one that started it all. She would not give him a name or information until she thought he was strong enough. She wanted him to become as powerful as possible so he could kill that person, because she wanted to take over. He was not sure how old she was, but she was up there in the age. She wanted to be the one that was known as the oldest and the strongest. This partnership was benefiting him greatly. The day when her mercenaries had came to find him, he thought that he was going to have to slaughter them all, but instead, he was met with a proposition. Something that he would be a fool to turn down. And now, he was in contact with an extremely old and powerful vampire. Despite her age though, she was spectacular. If he was someone that was attracted to the feminine beauty, someone that focused on those petty human feelings, he would be smitten by her. However, he was not. Those things did not allure or control him. He was a man that seek beyond. He was a man that seek to strive for something that many can never achieve ever in their life. Orochimaru stood in front of her throne. Her two guards stood there. Neither of them wearing a shirt. She was, well, unusual. The things that she did, the way she played with her little pawns. Well, she saw herself as a queen, so she did as she pleased. She had beautiful dark hair and red eyes. Red eyes that seemed to be bleeding when you look into them. It was like a ruby. Her lipstick was a dark red that accentuated her eyes. She was wearing a dress that seemed to hug every curve and every frame of her. She was stunning. Orochimaru stood in front of her. "Ah, nice of you to make an appearance." "I told you, I've been busy," Orochimaru said. "Well, that doesn't mean that you can't say hello," she said with a smile on her face. Orochimaru figured out early on that she was a teaser. She loved to tease people. Maybe it was her way of worming her way in their heads. basically controlling them without even having to control them. He was sure that many men and many women would fall to her charms, but he was not one of them. I have reached far in my research. Soon I will be able to achieve what the both of us want. However, let me guess. You need more of my liquid, she said. I mean blood, she said to him. I'm wondering, are you perhaps doing something else with it, rather than working? And what would I do with your blood, he asks. I don't know. Drink it? You do realize I am not like you. I'm not a vampire. Well, let me let you on a bit of a secret, she said. Most are not, and yet they still desire it, in more ways than one. Well, I don't, he said. And as I said before, I'm really busy, so can we move this along, he said to her. Patience, 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 she said. There's no need to rush. After all, life is eternal. For you, he said. Come on now, Snakey, she said. Orochimaru I twitch at hearing that. You are so far from human, and yet you still desire more. You have the time. Don't be impatient, she said to him. After all, she blinked out of existence. Orochimaru felt her nails as they went across his cheek. She was now in front of him. The anticipation, the ending, the climax. It's worth the wait, she said to him, with a smile, as she held out a strange bottle, a crystal. Her blood was inside. Here you go, she said. Don't drink it all at once. I'm just teasing, she said to him. No need to behave in such a manner, Snakey. Orochimaru wanted to declare, but he did not. I will see you soon, Amara, with updates. You do that. Orochimaru turned his back. And by the way, Snakey, Orochimaru paused. I'm going to need one of your pawns. Somewhat expendable. There's something I desire, she said. He looked at her servants. And what about them? How dare you, she said. These are not pawns. They're my boys, she said with a smile, licking her lips. I'll expect him by tomorrow morning, she said without a second word. Her name was Amara. Orochimaru knew that all too well as she sat in her throne, simply pushing back her dark hair with a brilliant smile on her face. He left. He needed her for the time being. Her blood and his experiments. They were coming together. He just needed more time. Soon enough he will get what he desired. He was creating something. The perfect host. That he would take over. And once he does, he will be unstoppable. Amara, this vampire god that no one has ever seen before. Or those who have seen him, they were too afraid to even speak his name. He would be above them all. He would demolish the Akatsuki. He would eviscerate anyone that stood in his path. Recently, Itachi Uchiha had humiliated him in a very bad way. He almost died. If it wasn't for Kabuto, he would have been dead. Soon, very very soon, he will get what he desires. And no one, absolutely no one will be able to stop him. Time skip. A few months later, Mito had to say, these past few months had been the wonderfulest of her life. It had been terrific. Truly amazing. She's never experienced things like this before. She was out of the village and she felt alive. She felt like she was truly living for the first time. Naruto had been nothing but kind and gentle and protective of her, watching over her, making sure that she was okay. She was thanking the gods in heaven that were watching over her, that she met him. If she had not, Who knows how things would have turned out? She was truly grateful that she had met him, and it seems her first observation of him being handsome was not incorrect. Every single female that he came across seemed to have a crush on him. Every single one of them. Mito saw the way they reacted. They were fumbling over their words, and they seemed to be crushing on him hard. And he was not one to not flirt back either. He flirted back with them as well. He also left her in some of the hotels that they went to. He probably went on a date with those females. She did not understand that much. After all, she was still a young girl. But the girls that he talked to seemed really nice. And he would come back the next morning. All the times his clothing was different. She shrugged it off though. He seemed to be happy, so she was happy as well. Not to mention the hotels. However, he refused to make her eat what she wanted. Because she wanted majority ramen. He made her try new food and vegetable. As much as she said that she hated it. The way they cooked the vegetable, it was a lot nicer. And she actually liked it now. Maybe the ones at the village were just not prepared well. Or maybe she did not like those. But now she liked vegetable. They were awesome. And also for her training, he kept to his word. She was not sure how strong he was because she's not seen him in action since he saved her life. And that wasn't really anything that she saw because only thing she heard was sounds. As for him, it was strange the way he described chakra. He talked about it like he's able to see chakra, like he knew everything about it. He also knew everything regarding meditation, tree walking, water walking, things that she had no idea about. He was really smart, far smarter than her. At the moment, Mito was currently sitting down, her eyes closed. Sweat was running down her forehead as she balanced the tip of the kunai on her finger, using her chakra to keep it there. She was sweating heavily. It turns out that she had more chakra than normal, a large, absurd amount. That is why it was so hard for her to control it. And he was teaching her that. As Naruto stood there, watching over her, with a proud smile on his face, he remembered his encounter with Kurama not too long ago. Flashback. Mito was asleep. As Naruto stood there by her window, watching her sleep, he slowly jumped into the room before he turned her over as he raised his hand and placed it over her stomach. The next moment he was inside of the mindscape. Naruto walked in the darkness of the halls. When he finally arrived, pure pitch black darkness greeted him. "I know you're in there, Kurama. Show yourself," he said. Growling could be heard. "I knew it. Even from inside this seal, I smelled something foul, corrosive and deadly. After all this time, you finally show yourself." His relationship with the Nine Tails was complicated, as his relationship with all the others. He knew every single tail beast. Yes, he did. After all, he was there when they were created. "I see that you're still much upset," said Naruto. Kurama slammed his paws down. "Upset? I want to rip you to pieces," he said. "But these bars, they're stopping me. I told you there was nothing I could do. You could have prevented this. But now, I'm stuck once again. And I blame you. You could have done something, but yet, you stand by, creating those blood-sucking monsters of yours. Were you that desperate for a family? And now, just like you did in the past, you've abandoned them as well. Do you just take pleasure out of using people and then discarding them? What about this new one, my host? I wonder, how would she feel if she was to know the truth? about who you really are. Kurama made a mistake by saying that. A purple aura. Thick. Powerful. It slammed the beast even through the bars. Kurama found himself pushed into the darkness as Naruto stepped through the bars and walked inside. I know that we're on a rough patch right now. However, you know me. You know what I am. You know who I am. If I would have wanted to tell her everything, I would have by now. So you're going to keep your mouth shut. Naruto said as he appeared on top of Kurama's nose. The beast wanted to attack, but the sheer presence, the sheer weight of Naruto's bloodlust kept him at bay. He growled and tried to move, but he could not. He was flat on his back, like a puppy. Naruto then jumped off him as he released a killer intent. The moment Kurama got up, he brought his paw down. However, Naruto was already gone. There was no rush, no super speed signs. He just moved. You coward. Running away just like you did in the past. You're just gonna end up hurting this one. No, I won't, said Naruto. She's different. It doesn't matter if she is. You are still you. If anything, you should just get out of her life right now. It will save her the eventual heartbreak. When the day comes that she will lose you. After all, the hope that she put in that she now has a family. As much as I don't care about her, I want you to know the kind of monster that you are. Naruto simply walked away. The only thing I'm going to say once again, as he said, is do not tell her anything, or else you will regret it, he said. He vanished out of the mindscape. Kurama growled angrily. As pissed off as he was not going to say a word to Mito. After all, he knew, he more than many, knew who Naruto was, now calling himself Naruto Uzumaki. That girl might see him as some sort of savior. She might see him as some sort of divine help. Well, he was to her. However, Kurama knew from experience that thing was even worse than him. That thing couldn't even be defined as a human. He couldn't even be defined as a vampire either. He created vampires. He was above them. He was their god. Yes, the god of them. But what he truly was the devil itself. Kurama could say that with full confidence after witnessing his past actions. As terrible as the tail beast might be, that thing down there was even worse. However, things are calm right now, so the world will not be able to experience what happened in the past, where the human race was almost erased completely. Yes, it was only by divine intervention that the human race was not completely wiped off. One person that stopped that from happening. It must have been divine help for them to send her over a few thousand years ago. But that was a long time ago, and she was long gone. And now Kushina was also gone as well. He was surprised that the world did not come to an end after Kushina's death. Maybe it's because she has a child. That child that he has been looking after for so long. There was so much his child did not even know about her own path, about how she was brought into this world, or who that man even is. Soon though, many would come to the light. Kurama could feel it right now, through his fur. Soon, many shall know. After all, just like how he had abandoned them, those bloodsuckers that he created, will soon rise up and realize that he no longer cares for them and that he should be destroyed and they should take over. And when they do, Kurama chuckled darkly. It will be pure chaotic and destructive. He just hoped that not everything will be wiped out in the process. Time skip. With Amara, she was sitting in front of a mirror. As she gazed up to what was above said mirror, it was a painting of a very handsome man who was none other than Naruto. He was smiling, and there were two people by his side. Amara was one of them. The other, she did not even look over towards a person. She clenched her fists as her nails seemed to extend, drawing her own blood as it started to leak down her hand. She looked up at him even more closely. "I'll make you pay," she said, as she licked her blood. "I'll make you suffer." But guys, let me end episode right here. If you want to see the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification as they posted. Bye, I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.